The council meeting of March 2nd, 2021 will now please come to order. Due to this meeting being a virtual meeting, council is asking if anyone who would like to address council who is participating through the computer, please use the chat feature now to let Clerk Mazzarolo know you have a comment, and you will be called on during the comment portion of the meeting. If you are calling on a phone or do not have access to the chat feature, we will give directions during the public comment portion of our meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Broussard?
Present.
Mr. Glassburn?
Here.
Ms. Heeman?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Limpert?
Present.
Mr. Schuman?
Here.
Ms. Williamson?
Here. If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of February 16th, 2021 are approved as written. The following legislation will be considered for suspension of the rules this evening on first reading, Resolution 2021-20. Mayor Kennedy, do you have a report this evening?
Madam President, no report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Law Director Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a brief note. Several meetings ago, I advised you of a public records matter that was filed in the Ohio Court of Claims against the City of North Olmsted by Kelly Patrick. That matter went to mediation, which was not successful. Motion to dismiss has been filed or is about to be filed on the part of the City of North Olmsted by the Law Department to have that case dismissed. We believe we're in full compliance with the Ohio Public Records Law and that the case should no longer be on the docket. So just want to bring up to date on that, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Finance Director Kopfer, do you have a report this evening?
Sorry, I had my report up and I couldn't turn the microphone on. City sold bonds on Wednesday, February 17th for an all-in TIC cost, which is total interest cost, price of 1.13%. The 1.13% interest rate after all costs of issuance are considered. These monies will complete the strategy of converting the short-term one-year notes that we've done over several years to a long-term 10-year fixed yield rate bond issue. This is an incredibly low cost to borrow money at. The city entered the marketplace at a very opportune time as interest rates have increased significantly in the days since the sale, as much as 30 basis points, which equates to about an additional $210,000 in interest expense that we would have incurred. So needless to say, we hit the market at a sweet spot. Today, we emailed the January 2021 financial statement summary and detail reports to council and the administration and others. 1 month does not make a trend. However, the income tax collections remained steady, though they are less than what they were in the prior January pre-pandemic. The property taxes are a little behind, but the county had moved the deadline back to the last week of January. So the advance was lower for January. We'll have a better indication after the first half settlement occurs in March or April, which is completely dependent on the county. Hotel motel collections are way down from January of a year ago, but they're about 2,000 ahead of December's collections. And recall that hotel motel taxes are collected a month in arrears. So when I say December, that means November's hotel sales. The street maintenance fund gas tax is running below January of last year, but the weather and COVID both impact travel, even by car. And it's not the price of gas necessarily, but it's how much gas is sold that goes into the massive formula that gets allocated into the vehicle gas tax that comes back to the communities. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving into council committee reports, Councilman Broussard, Chairman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Madam President. Thank you. The Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee met on February 23rd, 2021, beginning at 7:01 p.m. We met to discuss Resolution 2021-17, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a one-year contract with ProCare Services-Stryker in order to provide maintenance and repair services for LifePak heart monitors used by the North Olmsted Police Department. As explained by Mayor Kennedy, the annual maintenance contract is $6,609.60. This contract is based on a per unit billing. Last year we had a total of 5 units, which consisted of 2 LifePak 1000s and 3 LifePak 1500s. We have since added 2 Lucas units through CARES Act money for a total of 7. And I made the motion to approve to all of council, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. The vote was 3-0 in favor. The meeting concluded at 7:04 p.m. and that'll conclude my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Williamson, Chairwoman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No, I don't, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Schuman, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. Finance Committee met 7:12 Cleveland time, Tuesday, February 23rd. Attending the meeting were all of council, including committee members Schuman, Broussard, and Kelly. Council President, the Mayor, the Directors of Finance, Law, Planning, and Development, and HR, and guests. On the agenda was 2021-12, which is an ordinance amending section 13106 entitled Authority to Accept Donations of Chapter 131 of the Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted, entitled Mayor, in order to allow the mayor to accept donations not to exceed $2,000, subject to limitations, reporting requirements as amended. Council President had offered some amendments to 2021-12, and these were acceptable to the Law Director. They included a change of fair market value for donations needed for council approval from $1,000 to $2,000. Council must approve any donations from a company doing business or trying to do business with the city. Council must approve donations that propose improvements to public property, including real estate, buildings, and fixtures, raising the reporting requirements for donations from $250 to $500, and changing it so this reporting does not have to happen prior to the donation. Administration must provide a report for donations that in aggregate are over $2,000 within 30 days of the end of the year. Committee voted 3-0 to recommend 2021 as amended. I'm sorry, 2021-12 as amended. Next, we discussed 2021-16, which is an ordinance amending section 107.15 entitled Financial Disclosure Statements Required of Chapter 107 of the Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinance of the City of North Olmsted, entitled Code of Ethics, in order to amend the local filing deadline to match state law and declaring an emergency. With little discussion, 2021-16 was voted to be recommended to full council 3-0. Lastly, we discussed 2021-15, which is an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the City of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency as amended. There were a lot of questions and discussion about the budget, but the only amendments were those explained previously by the Finance Director. Once again, the Chair and the Finance Director asked to have questions and inquiries emailed to Finance in a timely manner so that information could be shared in a timely manner. Committee voted 3-0 to hold in committee. We met today, March 2nd at 7:02. Finance Committee members present, Schuman, Broussard, and Kelly, along with all of council, Council President, Mayor, Directors Lieber, Garreau, Gallo, Kopfer, We voted 3-0 to recommend to amend the amendments offered by the finance director. We also voted 3-0 to recommend 2021-15 to all of council. At this time, I move to remove 2021-15 from the agenda so that we can work out details in and possible amendments in a committee of the whole, and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to remove ordinance 2021-15 from tonight's agenda for the purpose of discussing proposed amendments to be discussed in the committee of the whole, made by Councilman Schuman, seconded by Councilman Broussard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0.
Sorry, mic off. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Councilman Schuman, could you please make a motion to amend 2021-12 at this time?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I did already. I will. I'll make the motion to amend 2021-12 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to amend 2021-12 made by Councilman Schuman, seconded by Councilman Broussard. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
No.
Ms. Heeman,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-12 has been amended with a vote of 6-1.
I guess that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do not have an environmental control committee report, Madam President, but if I may have a moment.
Yes.
Thank you. Just by geography, I happen to know that Springvale fish fries have a steady stream of customers. I was curious, to see what would happen with it being takeout only. And they seem to be doing a pretty steady business, and so that is a good thing. And I wanted folks to know in case you hadn't been able to really see that for yourselves. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, Chairman of the Recreation, Public Parks and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
Yes, Madam President. Dennis Lambert, residing at 25057 Cary Lane, sent an email that has been forwarded to all of council and will be attached to the meeting minutes. His concern is distribution of vaccines in Cuyahoga County. He said he's been unable to get a vaccine at Giant Eagle or Walgreens in North Olmsted, Westlake, or Rocky River. Meanwhile, people he knows on the east side of the county are having no issues, and Beechwood had a community vaccination. He said the city should be focusing on this, as once people on this side of the county get vaccinated, they will return to normal, which will help everything in the city, including businesses. Additionally, Joyce Cotman, residing at 5070 Hampton Drive, reached out to urge the city to implement a tornado/severe weather alert system. This email has also been forwarded to council and will also be attached to the meeting minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining our meeting tonight. At this time, council will hear comments from the public. Please remember to state your name and address for our clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city. We will start with those who have notified us via the chat feature. Anyone who has not notified us via the chat feature who would like to comment, please unmute your phone and start your comment when prompted. Clerk Mazzarolo, has anyone notified you that they would like to comment?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. At this time, if there's anyone on the computer or on the phone who would like to comment, please address council now. Seeing no comments from our audience, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading. Ordinance 2021-13, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. An ordinance amending section 139.04, entitled Division of Police, of Chapter 139 of the Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted, entitled Department of Public Safety, in order to increase the amount of petty cash fund for use by the North Olmsted Police Department.
Madam President,
Councilman Broussard.
I move for the adoption of ordinance 2021-13 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2021-13 made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Schuman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-13 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Legislation on second reading. Ordinance 2021-12, introduced by Mayor Kennedy, co-sponsored by Council President Jones. An ordinance amending section 131.06, entitled Authority to Accept Donations, of Chapter 131 of the Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted, entitled Mayor, in order to allow the mayor to accept donations not exceeding $2,000, subject to limitations and reporting requirements as amended. Ordinance 2021-16, introduced by Council President Jones. An ordinance amending section 107.15, entitled Financial Disclosure Statements Required, of Chapter 107 of the Administrative Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted, entitled Code of Ethics, in order to amend the local filing deadline to match state law and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2021-17, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a one-year contract with ProCare Services, Stryker, in order to provide maintenance and repair services for LifePak heart monitors used by the North Olmsted Fire Department. Legislation on first reading. Resolution 2021-19, a resolution dispensing with the RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for additional services from Records Imaging Service, Inc., for the purpose of scanning and indexing records for the mayor's court.
Madam President,
There.
I'd like to introduce and place on first reading.
Thank you.
Resolution 2021-20, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court to participate in the court's community diversion program to hear status, misdemeanor, or felony offense complaints that occur in the city of North Olmsted or have been committed elsewhere and result in complaints against juvenile residents of the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
There.
I'd like to introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President,
Councilman Broussard.
Thank you. I move to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review, as this was thoroughly discussed this evening in caucus. Is definitely an issue of timing, and I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
My vote is yes with comment. I would hope that the next contract cycle that we will get this timely and we won't have to do this on suspension again. Thank you.
Mr. Glassburn,
Yes, also with comment. A key tenet of our judicial system is equal treatment under law. If this is going to be in the future a habitual problem of people not being able to get service in the beginning of the year, we need to consider an alternative way of addressing this service. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Limpert, Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Seaman,
Yes, with a comment that, things need to be reported to council. I would hope that going forward, if we do have to work without a contract, it's comforting to know that the services are being provided, but however, that new participants cannot come into the program, and that hopefully we will go in and actually look for those contracts or look for our own other solutions, and that those things would be appropriately brought to council's attention. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 7-0. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding Ordinance 2021-20, please do so now.
Seeing and hearing none, Madam President, I'll move for the adoption of Resolution 2021-20 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-20 made by Councilman Broussard, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Broussard,
Yes.
Ms. Williamson,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Schuman,
Yes.
Ms. Seaman,
Yes.
Mr. Limpert,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn, Mr. Glassburn, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn, is that it? Yes? Okay.
Resolution 2021-20 is adopted with a vote of 7-0.
Ordinance 2021-21, an ordinance creating new section 109.09 entitled Electronic Meetings of Chapter 109 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Olmsted entitled Public Meetings in order to establish procedures for the use of the electronic meeting format for public meetings of municipal bodies.
I introduce and place on first reading. Moving into scheduling committee meetings for next Tuesday, March 9th. Councilman Broussard.
Thank you, Madam President. We will schedule a Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee meeting beginning at 7 p.m. to discuss Resolution 2021-19. That should go to about 7:15, and I'll ask that the mayor or his designee be present. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn.
Thank you, Madam President. I will schedule an Intergovernmental Relations Committee for 7:15 to go to 7:30, considering item 2021-21, and I would ask that the council president and all of council be there.
And following at 7:30, we will have a committee of the whole meeting regarding ordinance 2021-15 for the purpose of discussing proposed amendments. And Councilwoman Williamson.
Thank you, Madam President. We are going to reschedule our BZD meeting for the 23rd, but I would like to coordinate a time with the director. So we'll have a better idea of time next week. Thank you.
Thank you. And it is my intention to call a committee of the whole that same evening on March 23rd for the purpose of discussing returning to council chambers. And that time of that meeting will be determined at a later date. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of March 2nd, 2021 is adjourned at 8:26 p.m.